All right, so before I even start, this is pretty much gonna be all the clips or all the pictures from the True Rate Me subreddit. And if y'all don't know that, check it out on Reddit. People just want to know what attractiveness or what you would rate them 1 out of 10, and I'm gonna help them solve it. Now, actually, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna rate anybody. I'm just gonna show like some flaws that I see, and it's also some good things that I also see within the video or a picture. And I believe I might do like 4 to 5 people, depending on how things go. And I'm gonna try to make it as fast as possible. Just spot things that I notice real quickly, and then just try to go through each and every one of the pictures and videos that I have to go through. All right. So let's see the first one. This is a quick video. It's only 47 seconds. I don't even know if I'm gonna play the whole thing, but let's see what we got here. And I'm gonna show y'all, the things that I spot that are good, bad, and yeah, things that you can work on. All right, so that's pretty much it, honestly. As you can see, let me see if I can go back a little bit. She literally can be, I won't say like a model, but close to it. I mean, she has a very leaned out face, low body fat, obviously. I could tell that her middle third is larger than her upper and lower third. Um, let's see. I think her bitemporal width might be on the slightly on the wider side. Um, she does have very long eyelashes. She also has medium to medium set cheekbones. I wouldn't say this is high set. I would say this is medium, maybe getting closer to high set, but it's still medium. And then for the side view, and also she got good lip ratios. Her lower lip is longer than her upper lip in length. Now, let's see if I can get to the side real quick. All right, so one thing that I do notice that is sort of like a flaw, and it's a good thing too, but it's a little bit too much, is her chin. She does have a thick chin and it kind of protrudes out a little too further, a little too far. And what this would do is it will actually decrease the amount of lip projection that she has, or you have to kind of compensate for it. So if you have a chin that protrudes a lot, you're gonna have to have lips that protrude a lot as well. So in theory, she does have recessed lips just for that reason. She does have a very long ramus with a very long mandible. She doesn't have any loose fat underneath the chin area. She does have a very long neck. Y'all heard what I said about long necks. Usually people with long necks have low hyoid bone, which means that their neck kind of sticks out further and is set lower. And it's also kind of like a posture thing as well. She probably just naturally leans her head forward, which is not really a good thing, but that's typically what you will see with people with longer necks. And she overall has like a lean face, like I said before. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for her. I mean, everything is good. Her nose is very upturned. And yeah. All right, so this is the second person that we have next. And like I said again, these are just pictures that I found on the True Rate Me subreddit. So I'm just going to go through each one. And it's going to be the front and side view for each one of these people, besides, I believe, the last one. All right, so for this one, her middle third is the longest, which is supposed to be. I didn't, by the way, I did not do any measurements or anything. This is just purely what I see. Another thing too is it's kind of similar to the other girl. Her lower lip is longer than her upper lip. And then she does have a very prominent vermilion border across the upper lip portion with the cupid's bow. And then she also has a very prominent philtrum groove right here, which is tight. It's not really wide or anything like that. It's narrow and it's tight. It almost looks like an arrow pointing down, honestly. And then she's fairly lean, not as lean as the other girl. She does have I can tell that her cheekbones is slightly asymmetrical, which a lot of people do have cheekbones that are slightly more on the asymmetrical side, which is not uncommon. I do not take points for that just because of how common it actually is, and it's not really too noticeable. But if it does get to a point to where it's very noticeable, then I will probably take points off for that. Another thing too is that her eyebrows are very flat. Normally, you want to have eyebrows that are just more upturned. Let's look at the side view profile and let's see what we got there. All right, so for the side view profile, the first thing I notice is, like I said, with the chin. Now her chin is a little bit thinner than the other girl's chin, and it does stick out, but it doesn't stick out too far. And I believe that her mental cervical angle is good, and or I mean mental mental cervical angle. And then her ramus is, she does have a fairly long ramus, and she does have a very projected nose, and is pretty lengthy as well. For the lip measurements, this is the main thing that I kind of wanted to. So if we go from the tip, oh, let me see if I can make some quick changes real quick. Okay, so if we go from the tip down to the chin, as we can see, the lower lip actually doesn't even touch the line. So this will be, it will be very close to ideal. And then that will be the Ricketts E line, the Burstel line from the top of the upper lip down to the chin. And as we can see, the lower lip touches that line. And then if we go from the S line, I believe this is the Steiner S line. Unfortunately, the upper lip is supposed to touch. That is probably because her nose is very projected forward. So if her nose wasn't as projected forward, I believe that she would probably pass all the lip measurements. It just may be because of, and then as the B line right here, she does well in the B line. So yeah, just a little bit too much nose projection. If her nose wasn't as lengthy or as long, I'm talking about in terms of width, she would have passed all those lip measurements. But and another thing too, for the orbital vector, I believe that she does have her eyes are a little bit deeper set, just ever so slightly. I believe this is the orbital bone right here where it lies, and then the eye tissue is slightly behind it. All right, so next we have an African American male, and there's a reason why I'm going to say that. Some people might think that this guy is Tyrone or something. No, but let me tell y'all guys why that might not be the case. Now, the first thing I noticed with him is that he does have a smaller head shape, is because his skull is just naturally more on the wider side in terms of the width versus the height. And let me make another change real quick. All right, so if we look at the nose width versus the mouth width, we can actually see that it's almost close to 1-to-1, where it's almost even. And maybe it's like 1.1, something like that. And you want your mouth to be wider than your nose, which for his case it is, but only slightly. And then as we can also see here, is that his nose doesn't look as big as it actually does. And I can tell you guys why that might be the case. That is because if we look at the one eye width apart, so one eye width apart is each eye. So you get the distance of each eye, or the actual width of each eye. You obviously add it and then divide it by 2 to get the average. And then you would divide it by the width of the middle portion. As we can see here, the middle portion of his face is way longer than both of these eyes right here. So as we can see here, and this is something normally that you'll see in Asians, not normally common in blacks. Blacks might actually be the opposite, where it's more shorter. But that's why his nose kind of fits his face in a strange, weird way, because it kind of goes in between the methocanthus of the inner eye corners right here, over here, these two places. and that's why it kind of fits very well. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty much it that I have to say for the front view. I think I should start with the side view, and obviously his lips isn't his lower lip isn't longer than his upper lip, as you can clearly see. I think this could be a 1-to-1 ratio with the upper and lower lip. All right, so now we're looking at the side view profile, and the first thing I notice is I believe he does have a good nasal frontal angle right here. I can obviously tell that he does have a brow bone, and you can obviously tell from the other picture that I showed before. And he does have a nasion that is more lower set, which is common in African Americans. And just because you have a lower set nasion doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna have a prominent brow bone. But normally, what I see is that African American males do have slightly more masculinized faces, so they might not do too well on the harmony score itself, but in terms of how masculinized the face is, that's kind of like where I see them excelling at for the most part. Another thing too is, speaking of the lip measurements, as you can see here with African American men or just African Americans in general, you can't do the lip measurements because obviously with prognatism, meaning that the portions of the jaw, or not the jaw, the mouth. So the mouth actually extends forward, and everybody has it to a certain extent, but more people have just more of it than others, right? So you can kind of clearly see it with the upper. I just look at the philtrum just to know how much prognatism somebody has. All you gotta do is look at the philtrum inclination. I guess you can say the philtrum inclination right over here. And then this is another reason why blacks also have an acute angle when it comes to the nasal labial angle. Is not because their nose isn't upturned for the most part. I mean, sometimes it is, but for the most part is because of the prognatism, and it is because the mouth itself extends forward. If this was a white person, for example, or a European person, his mouth inclination is going to be like this. So if your mouth inclination is going to be like this, then you have a better chance of actually passing those lip measurements right there. But that's just the difference that I see. Another thing too is he does have a lot of jaw body. So let me see if I can just right here from the ramus. He does have a very, very lengthy ramus. And also with that, he does have a lengthy mandible as well. And that's a good relationship to have. And it gives him a lot of jaw body. If he had a short ramus, for example, like this, and then it went like that, then it's going to be less jaw body. But you want to have more jaw body because it makes the face look more complete. All right. All right, so next we have this guy right here. I think he could be Indian. I'm not too sure, but if I had to guess, I will believe that he is Indian. Just from, I guess, just from his looks. But first, let's talk about. I'm not even gonna talk about the head shape. That's for another story. But what I will talk about is, you can see the hairline recession. Let me see if I can change this real quick. Okay, so you can see the hairline recession. Right here, and that's something that I kind of will take points off of. Another thing too is that this could be, since we're talking about the lip ratio, a 1-to-1 right there. And I usually go from the peaks of the upper lip, so the peaks, not the dips, the peaks. And he also has a philtrum groove too, which is kind of narrow, and it kind of has that bow and arrow shape right here that I'm gonna kind of do right there. So that's the look that you want to have. He has a pretty sharp jaw. I know some people may disagree, but this is fairly sharp. I know everybody's jaw is not gonna look the same. What makes his jaw more unique than others is because he has a very thin chin, so it's long and it's kind of like just thin. It's thinned out. So when you have a thin chin, it makes your face more angular. It makes your jaw more angular and more narrow out rather than wider. If you think about it, a person with a thicker chin will have a wider jaw angle. or just a smaller chin that is thicker is gonna have a wider jaw angle. But if you have a longer chin with that is narrow, is gonna narrow out the jaw. And another thing too is that his eyes are a little bit more on the rounded side, as you can clearly see. And it looks like it's almost to a point where you can kind of see like the white part above and underneath the actual eye itself, or the iris. And yeah, he just have very rounded eyes. It does have a bit of the almond shape, but it's still more on the rounded side. So don't let that stuff kind of fool you. All right, so next we have is the side view profile. Now, speaking of the orbital vector, this guy has the opposite of what that girl had that I did before. I believe the second girl, and I don't know if I can see that blue line, or maybe I need to make it more bigger. But this is the end of the orbital vector, or the orbital bone. And let me see if I can get it. Let me see if I can change this real quick. Normally I don't want to go in and out, in and out, in and out, but for this one I have to. So this is the orbital bone. And as you can clearly see, the eye tissue goes past the actual orbital bone that's right here. His eye tissue is ahead of the bone. So this is the end of it, and this is the eye tissue. So he does have a negative orbital vector, unfortunately. And that's why from the front view angle, he has rounded eyes, and his eyes kind of look 3D-ish, like it kind of like just pokes out. You don't want that. You want eyes that are deeper set, especially for a man. Another thing too is, I will admit, he does have a jaw body. So let's see the ramus, and his ramus is more rounded. I'm not saying that you need like a very sharp ramus or anything like that, but just having a sharp ramus does look more aesthetically pleasing, I will admit. His mandible too doesn't really look all that long, just by looking at this, but it is long for his face. We all have different skull shapes, different face shapes. Not every mandible has to be long in order to be recessed necessarily, or to be, because we just have different skull shapes, different face shapes, different head sizes. So just because the mandible looks small doesn't mean a person is recessed. Clearly, as you can see, his mandible looks small, but is not recessed by any means necessary. And then another thing that I do want to say is his nasal frontal angle looks pretty good right here. I'm not even going to draw it out. I don't think I have time for that. And then if we look at the lip measurements, he did very well on it. So this is the E line. The lower lip looks closer to the line than the upper lip, which is good. Let's look at the H line. The H line looks, ooh, let me try that one more time. I'm gonna see if I can, there we go. So as we can see, the lower lip touches that line, which is, it is supposed to. And then let's look, and that was for the H line. So this is the S line. Let's see how the S line looks. And both lips actually touch that line. So he is passing every lip measurement. And then let's look at the bursal line. And then for the bursal line, it almost looks like both of his lips are within the same length. So I don't think he would have passed the bursal line, but he would have passed the other three measurements. I will say this, Asians do well on these lip measurements. But for an Indian person, I believe is because the reason why he passed this is because his nose, or his nasal width, just the sheer width of his nose isn't really too long for his face. So I believe that kind of helped him out a bit too. And he also has a bit of chin projection as well. Not too much, not too little. So it's almost like a counterbalance between all three of those places. All right, so this is going to be the last one. And I know there's a lot of subject matter to it. One thing that I noticed, and this is something that I saw in the other guy as well, is that they have forehead lines, right? I forgot to mention that for the other person. But this guy's forehead line is pretty deep, and he looks like he's young. I don't know, maybe like 20 or something. And he also got acne, as you can clearly see, especially on the bottom portion of his face. Another thing that I that I do notice is that he does have nostril exposure, and you don't want to have nostril exposure. I can kind of tell that he probably will have nostril exposure in the side view, just for the simple fact that he has this much nostril exposure. And another thing too is I talked about having a refined nose. Doesn't mean you need the sharpest nose in the world, but you don't want it to be bulbous. You can clearly see that his nose is very bulbous, and it doesn't have any sort of angularity to it. His nose is projected forward, I can tell, but it's very just unangular, and I'm not talking about the the bridge of his nose or anything like that. I'm just talking about the end of it. All right. So another thing too is now that I'm looking at it as well, since I'm doing this, I didn't take any notes. I'm just going based off what I see. His nose actually looks like it could be one to one with his mouth, and this nose looks like it doesn't fit well with the actual face. Like I said before, with the other guy, who actually did have a lot of spacing with the one eye test between both eyes. If y'all remember, this guy actually has the opposite, where I can kind of tell that it might be closer to 0.9, meaning that the eye spacing right here, or the space between this portion of both eyes, is 0. Or 90% of both eyes. So if like I said again, if you add both of these eyes divided by 2 divided by this, is going to be that amount, or should be somewhere close to that amount, where it's just 90% of it. So that's why his nose doesn't quite fit with his face. And another thing too is, this is the last part, and he also has good hair too, but another thing too is that his jaw is asymmetrical. I don't know if, I know some of y'all probably missed that, but not all of y'all. Let me see if I can do some better lines. But I mean, I can clearly tell. I don't need to trace his jaw or anything like that. But it's clear as day that he does have a asymmetrical face. Let me see if I can get the middle portion of it, like right over here. And it's kind of like his jaw is leaning towards the left side of his face. As you can clearly see, he has more chin right here than over here. And then another thing too is, with a jaw that tilts or leans to the left side, is that your lips is also leaning to the left as well. Now, the line that I just drew isn't the straightest line. It actually is kind of favoring the left side. That's why it doesn't look too crazy. But just the asymmetry of the face kind of just throws things off too, unfortunately. And you can just clearly see is more jaw body here than over here. Is just his face is kind of like leaning towards the left side. And the crazy thing about this, I can just tell just by looking at it, from this view right here, since I rate people all the time and I've done this for a while, I can tell that the camera is actually towards the right side of his face. So for the simple fact that the face is leaning towards the left side, even though the camera is on the right side, tells me that he has even greater asymmetry when you see him in real life. All right, so that'll be it. That's all I have to say. Make sure to subscribe and like, and drop below who y'all want me to rate next. And I'm out. Peace.